if you're Christian or you believe in the New Testament, prepare to have everything you believe in become questionable in your eyes. All coming from this week's parasha, all coming from the names that your average person thinks is just a name. What's the big deal? Now, of course, Christianity has an endless amount of problems. And when I say Christianity, I don't just mean people that consider themselves Christians. I also am relating it to anyone that believes in the New Testament as a divine document. Now, this Torah portion tells us that there are many proofs in our Holy Torah that show that the New Testament is not only not divine, but anyone that's following it is in essence following idolatry. One of the things that we learn in this week's parasha is that Yaakov came down to Egypt with 70 souls. In the New Testament, which we often call False Testament, in the book of Acts, chapter 4, verse 14, it says 75. Now, of course, some of the Christian teachers are going to tell you, yeah, but 75, that agrees with the Sefer Yovalim, the book of Jubilee. Now, if anyone heard the shiur from the beginning, there are priorities when you're providing sources. If I have a source from the 5 books of Moses that 70 people came down to Egypt with Yaakov, and in fact, in no less than 3 sources in the Torah in the 5 books of Moses that say 70, and you bring me a non-canonized or uncanonized book that in fact many of the sages said not to study it at all because there are problems with the writings that are in it, and you say that this is a source to confirm your 75, obviously you do not know of the rules of biblical exegesis. Furthermore, the book of Acts, just a couple of verses later, in Acts 7:16, says that the cave of Machpelah is in Shechem. We know from the 5 books of Moses that in Genesis 23 verse 19, among at least a half a dozen other verses, it says that the cave of Machpelah is in Hebron. Now, I would say the 5 books of Moses is the greatest and most important source, that if it says it's in Hebron, and the New Testament says it's in a different place called Shechem, obviously that's enough. But one of the beautiful things is about the cave of Machpelah is that it's still around, and you can go see it. Now, of course, some of the Christian teachers from the Israelite movement are going to say, yeah, but you know, Yosef was buried in Shechem. Who's talking about Yosef? Who's talking about his burial? Shechem does not have a cave of Machpelah. But unfortunately, when people want to believe something, they'll even use Yosef being buried in Shechem, which is a completely different building, completely different city, completely different location, completely different everything. They'll even use that as a source to validate their false testament. Now, when you have a book like the New Testament say that a person became God, like the book of John chapter 8 verse 58, where Jesus says that before Abraham I am, or in John 10:30, he says the Father and I are one, it confuses you. Why? Because you start thinking that perhaps there are even mistakes in the written Torah, because the written Torah, the 5 books of Moses specifically says, and in fact the entire Tanakh says, that Hashem is not a person, will never be a person. He has no image, no likeness of an image. There's no middleman. But here he says, Yeshu says, your Jesus, your Yeshua, says that he is God. Now, of course, you cannot believe in a book that contradicts the source. But the beauty is that even the book that the Christians believe contradicts itself. Because in the book of Matthew chapter 27 verse 46, as well as Mark 15 verse 34, while this criminal Yeshu is being stuck on a bunch of boards, he starts crying. And he says the psalm, the famous psalm, Eli, Eli, lama azavtani, oh God, why have you forsaken me? Wait, if you were there before Avraham, if you are God, if you are the creator, then who are you crying to? Now, anybody with a normal brain that does not have a conclusion before they look at the facts, but rather looks at the facts in order to arrive at a conclusion, immediately stops believing in the New Testament. Why? Because once you have one major contradiction like this that's unexplainable by any Christian scholar throughout all of history with a satisfactory type of explanation, hence the reason why many Christians simply say, no, we don't believe he's God anymore. Yeah, but the book says he is. You can't say that you believe in the book, but you don't believe in all of it. It's either real or it's not real. It's either divine or it's not. You have a guy that says he's God in multiple places, but yet he cries to God, and he can't even save himself. And he says, Eli, Eli, lama azavtani, God, oh God, why did you leave me? Wait, if he is one with God, then how could he leave him? Now, of course, they're going to give you all types of explanation. This was for this was for that. But anyone that's spiritually honest, intellectually honest, will simply not buy it. And not sell their soul to the devil by believing a religion of idolatry. Last but not least, specifically when it comes to the Israelites that believe that their Yeshua is Mashiach. He's not. Some of them say don't believe he's God. Some of them say he is God. So even the Israelites don't have a common belief. Just like the rest of Christianity. No two Christians are alike. They say he's Mashiach. Well, what makes him Mashiach? Oh, well, he's Mashiach because he's from the descendants of King David. Well, according to who is Jesus related to King David? Well, look. The lineage of Joseph the carpenter. Well, yeah, let's look at the lineage of Joseph the carpenter. In the book of Matthew, chapter 1, verse 6, or Luke, chapter 3, verse 31, it actually gives you a list of 25 names that do not match with each other. Two sets of 25 related to Joseph that somehow relate him to King David. But the two sets of 25 are not the same names. So which one is it? Is he related to these 25 people or these 25 people? Now you're going to say, yeah, no, this is from the mother, this is from the father, but that's not what the book says. The book has a contradiction, has 25 names that do not match. But even if you want to use the excuse that this is from his mother and this is from his father and the 25 year and the 25 year to show that, okay, fine. Then why does that make Jesus related to King David? Because according to the book of Luke, chapter 1, verse 26 until 38, it talks about an immaculate conception. It talks about how Jesus didn't come from Joseph. His mom was virgin. I mean, they were married, but she was a virgin. Never met such a woman. Never met such a person. That they're married, but they're a virgin. Probably had marriage problems. But nonetheless, the birth, according to the New Testament, says that Joseph, the carpenter, is not Jesus' father. So even if he was somehow related to King David, it doesn't make a difference to Jesus. Because accordingly, he's the Son of God. Which, of course, we know he's not. But the reality is that you cannot have a book called Divine with this many contradictions. Strong lectures, similar and different to the one that you heard tonight, that are simply full of sources, honesty that's brutal, but is effective. Tikkun Abrit, it helped countless people get closer to Hashem, because for the first time in their life, they heard that there are serious ramifications for their bad actions, whatever those bad actions are.